The Cubs have finally benched Kyle Tucker, who's been struggling. Joey, the question is it the right move and for how long?
For right now, in this moment, unfortunately against the Milwaukee Brewers, it is the right move, Luke. They have to get him right. The Cubs aren't going anywhere without Kyle Tucker being Kyle Tucker. And I know it's tough. Sometimes it's hard to tell harsh truths to the people that you love. But Kyle Tucker, you stinks right now, right? I mean, I've got some numbers to back it up. So people, for mature audiences, maybe this is only for you with these numbers. The last 30 games, slash line 181, 323 on base, 238 slug. He's in a 2 for 25 slump. He has only 3 extra base hits over his last 32 games, 1 RBI over his last 54 at bats. I mean, Luke, this is not the first half player that I think a lot of Cubs fans fell in love with. It is almost a night and day in terms of production. We don't know if it's physical. We don't know if it's mental. It could be a combo of both. But sitting him right now, it's a long time coming, and it is necessary.
It's interesting because I heard Mark DeRosa on MLB Network, who I greatly respect, who has been the manager of a Team USA, and who I thought would have been a great manager for the Cubs someday, say, listen, one of the 10 best players in baseball, I don't care how much he's struggling. There's no way in a pennant race I would sit a top 10 guy. I would say we live and die with you, and that's what's going on. So what was it that triggered the Cubs to actually finally make this move? Because fans were ready for it. Fans were ready for it. But what triggered Craig Counsell to make this move that Mark DeRosa said, I would never do that? Was it that he didn't run down and that the boos were there? We've gone so far that we've gone from extend Kyle Tucker signs all over the bleachers all season long and people peppering the Cubs with why aren't you signing him, throw all the money at him, to him being booed loudly by Wrigley Field during the biggest games of the season because he didn't run to first base.
All respect to Mark DeRosa, I think it is a combination of factors right now. If you just start with the production, on the physical side of things, is it his finger? Is it his knee? He slammed a foul ball off the Royals on July 22nd. He only has 2 doubles since then. He's hitting 189 over his last 74 at-bats just in that span. And, oh, yeah, that's right, still does not have that home run. So, okay, that's to Mark DeRosa's point of physically, production-wise, maybe he isn't 100%, but you ride this guy out because he's a gamer, he's gritty. I'm all for that. But, Luke, what we've seen over the last week or so, beginning in Toronto, culminated with what we saw yesterday in Game 1 about him so frustrated that maybe it is, he's a human being, taking some of the focus away a little bit. And when he does ground out to the first or second baseman for the 5th time, it's getting to him a little bit. And if he loosens up on the rope and doesn't run out a ball to first base, he's going to hear it from Cubs fans. Listening to Craig Counsell today, he did a whole lot of introspective, philosophical baseball is hard stuff.
Yeah.
Look, baseball is hard. The season is long. There are ups and downs. There are human beings trying to go to bat for his guy. That doesn't sound like a guy who's dealing with an injury right now. Maybe he is dealing with a guy who's a little banged up, but now mentally it's starting to bother him. Mechanically it's starting to bother him. And if he can't have all those facets clicking in his game right now, this is what it's come to. Kyle Tucker benched.
I agree with D-Row in that they're going nowhere without a great Kyle Tucker, and you live and die with that. However, we don't know the actual conversations that are going on behind the scenes, and D-Row led to this as well. We don't know if Kyle Tucker after the game said, man, I need a day. I need a couple days. This is too much. I need to reset. That's possible. That is a possibility. It is possible that Craig Counsell is covering for an injury. Pat Murphy, the manager of the Brewers on the other side, who is buddies with Craig Counsell, went on the score and said, he's hurt. I think Tucker's hurt. He's like, I don't have any information that proves that he's hurt, but he's not the same player. I think he's too proud. I don't think he's willing to go out and say I'm hurt. I think he's hurt. And, okay, if he is indeed hurt, then the Cubs needed to step up before and say it doesn't matter what your contract situation is and how much you want to prove to people that you're going to get through a whole season, which might be a thing, and you need to do what's right for the team. You can't be selfish. It's great at some point to be, I want to play every day, but just like Dansby last year, that at some point the manager has to step in and say, but this is not what's best for the team right now. So we don't know if that is what has happened here with the Cubs. We just don't know behind the scenes. All we know is the numbers prove, as you said at the beginning, he's not who he was before. He's not who he's been his entire career. This is the worst stretch of his entire career. And he was showing frustration in a way that this guy doesn't do it. It'd be like seeing Kyle Hendricks slam his glove down on the mound. That's what we're seeing.
That's a
right?
great comp. That's a great personality comp of a guy who just seems to go about his business, isn't very demonstrative, or doesn't have a lot of emotions out there in the field. And honestly, in terms of a star, a centerpiece of a lineup, I kind of like that. I kind of like the even keel guy. But again, we've seen him over the last week crack a little bit, and I think that is a signal to Craig Counsell that we need to slow this down a little bit and just hit the reset button. Whatever it is, just whatever you do with the Nintendo, you just plug it in, plug it back in, plug it out, plug it back in. Hopefully it works. Here's what we do know, and obviously I've been tossing out a lot of bad numbers. On June 29th, Kyle Tucker was hitting .291 with a .395 on base percentage and a .537 slug. I'd like to believe that that is more of Kyle Tucker than what we've seen recently. So whatever it takes, and whatever maybe a little humility pill that Kyle Tucker needs to swallow to get back on the same page, it's happening right now. Unfortunately, it's happening during the Milwaukee Brewers series. I wish it happened a little bit earlier, but if it works, this is an interesting thing with Craig Counsell right now. Is he doing the right thing? Is he pushing the right button? And is it the timing correct? It's all interesting to see how it plays out in the next couple of weeks.
There's no other button to push.
This was it.
This was the only button to push. This is the only way it gets fixed. Is he turning over on the ball and grounding? Yeah, the guy can't even hit a fly ball right now. And this is an all-star outfielder, as DeRosa said, one of the top 10 players in the game, who at the beginning of the season and a quarter of the way or half the way through the season is in the MVP race. He's not first, but he's in the MVP race. And now you have a guy, and you look across the field and you say, Yelich is having a better year than Kyle Tucker. I never would have said that early in the season. So I don't know how you fix him. Real quickly, does it make it – where does this put the offseason, bring Kyle Tucker back? Where does this put the odds of him coming back to the Cubs next season?
From a Cubs fan perspective, I think it puts it slightly in peril for the first time.
Because of the booing?
Because of the booing, because of we're going to be talking about money that's all of us would love to have that's generational, but now is it 300, 400, 500? I don't think he's 500 at this point. Can he get it back up to that particular level? But I will say from a baseball perspective, if this works out, and if the lines of communication between Craig, the front office, and Kyle, if this gets ironed out and this works, if I'm Kyle Tucker, I do want to believe that this organization has my back, recognizes when maybe I'm pushing myself past my own limits, willing to protect me and my own investment as my personal production on the team. This can turn out to be a good thing for the Cubs organization. The most important thing, though, is we need Kyle Tucker, as you said, hitting the ball in the air, hitting the ball over the fence, driving in runs, and being Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, and how much of the way that they have handled Tucker this season, not benching him to this point, keeping him batting second through all of these struggles,
loyalty.
How much of that is about loyalty and that next step moving forward with Kyle Tucker? On the devil's advocate, I would say this. He might be less expensive, and he might be closer to the Cubs' wheelhouse than he was before, and he might be getting less years because of the stretch. The only way that money's coming back is a superstar hot run in the postseason for Kyle Tucker. Let's just hope he gets there.